Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kaukauna, Wisconsin, riding a CST tires, SSI decals, Valvoline backed Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV motocross national champion, number 25, Cody Jansen.
What's up, everybody?
We're back!
Welcome to the latest edition of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, episode 138 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, in stock and available for purchase today at shop.csttires.com. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, saying hello to our nearly 257,000 monthly Digging Deep listeners in 108 countries in which you are listening, and this is our 2024 High Point Race Review Show. We witnessed Joel Hetrick's perfect season continue, Bryce Ford extend his own streak, and Max Lindquist achieve back-to-back overall podium spots for the first time since his rookie year. Overall, it was a phenomenal weekend of racing at a facility with some of the richest moto history on Earth. We'll break it all down in the upcoming episode with a very special guest. Mr. Nick Gennusa will join us for the duration of this one, and it's well worth the wait. But first, let's quickly shout out all of our incredible partners. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, Valvoline, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Lauderdale Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, Impact Solutions, Ultimate Poly Products, UPP Racing, our choice when it comes to case savers, chain sliders, intake manifolds, and more, the Ultimate D6 Quad Series, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Summer is finally here, and it's the perfect time to kick off the summer right by going to manscaped.com and using code DIGGINGDEEP20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Whether it's the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the GOAT of electric razor trimmers, my favorite, the Beard Hedger Pro Kit from Manscaped, or the best nose hair trimmer ever created, the Weed Whacker 2.0, get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. So rad that Manscaped is continuing to invest in ATV racing as a longtime partner of Digging Deep. Help us keep them in the fold and involved in ATV racing by using our Digging Deep 20 code so they know you enjoy digging deep and what we're all about. Support all the great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. The 2024 season is officially at its midpoint. Maybe you have some stuff that's getting worn out or needs to be replaced. No matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. But before you buy, simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website. By using our specific link, we get a percentage of what you buy on the back end, enabling you to help us out while purchasing the parts you need anyway. And did you know you can buy OEM parts from Rocky Mountain ATVMC as well? Yep, shipped conveniently right to your door. So click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner at diggingdeepatvmx.com to help us out while satisfying all your gear and parts needs. Shout out to all of our donors, past and present, and if you are interested in donating and hearing your name on the show, you can find the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation links on our website. Major thanks to all who have donated, of course. Now, if you can't donate but you still want to help us out, you can leave us a rating or review on iTunes and Spotify. That helps us out a bunch too. Now, it's showtime. The 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep.
Let's go!
All right, guys, we're back here for another episode of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast and another race review episode tonight, but this is a special one because joining me to help break down everything that happened at High Point is a five-time AMA ATV Pro Class podium finisher, a top five finisher in the series point standings each of the last 9 seasons, brought to you by UPP Racing. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP15 at uppracing.com to save on your next order of case savers, chain sliders, intake manifolds, and more. It's my pleasure to welcome Nick Gennusa back here to the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Nick, thanks so much for being here. Welcome back.
Cody, thanks for your time. I'm looking forward to it and seeing what we talk about tonight.
Heck yeah, man. I'm stoked that you were willing to join me. You hopped on the radio call with Rodney Tomlin, who made his return to racing at High Point there. And I thought that you were awesome. So I thought, who better to help break down all the action there in PA than you? And it sounded like you were pretty natural, honestly, in the tower and on the mic on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I try to, go up there and, give my honest opinion when I speak and, keep it professional at the same time. I think it was very different for me. I haven't done something like that probably in a pretty long time, but yeah, definitely, no pun intended, different view from up there watching. So, it's, and from all aspects, it's different for me. And I had fun with Rodney. I've known him a long time. He does a great job. He's miles ahead of me at speaking, and he's great at it. But we had fun. I really did, actually. I made the best of it for that weekend.
Dude, I thought, like I said, I thought you were awesome. And I think that having somebody that knows what they're talking about makes that experience so much better, especially on a weekend where there was no rated MX, there was nobody watching it. Like, that was the only way to consume the races on that weekend, unless you were there in person, obviously. And yeah, to just have somebody that like knows better than anybody what they're talking about was pretty awesome. And you sounded really good. You sounded like a natural, like I said, but not like you've had much practice, pal. The elephant in the room, of course, is the fact that you were in the tower because you're out indefinitely following this massive hit and injury sustained at Ironman for you. So if you can, update my listeners who aren't maybe up to speed on what's going on with your injury, update myself, I guess, and the listeners on what you got going on.
Yep. So I'll make it quick. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people know, but at this point, some might, absolutely, some might not know. So at Ironman in the second qualifier, we were putting in laps and simple mistake on my end where I kind of brain farted the finish line jump, which is a step down into a little double transition. It's nothing crazy by any means. I was probably the only one to ever overshoot it, and I wasn't really ready for it. So my front end wasn't low, but I think if my front end was high, it still would have hit hard, but the outcome might have been a little bit different. I hit hard, really hard. I overjumped probably like 20, 30 feet, and I landed past the transition almost to where the next jump started to go up. So I feel like when I watch a video a bunch of times, which is everywhere, I took the hit well, but all that force has to go somewhere. And I remember falling that jump and closing my eyes before I hit the ground. I can't say I've ever done that, but I knew it was going to be a gnarly hit, and I braced for it. And, I smacked my face off the bars. I initially thought I broke my nose, and then like right away, the pain in my wrist overtook, and then I rolled. I didn't come off the quad. I went over to the side of the track, and one of the officials was standing there. He's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, I told him, I think I just broke my wrist. So it's been a long time since I've broke a bone, and I don't really remember the pain tolerance. And I said it last week. I wasn't trying to be a tough guy racing those motos by any means. I didn't want to go to the hospital because, if it was a sprained wrist or a really bad sprain, because again, it's been so long since I've been injured, I was definitely feeling it, but I was like, it can always be worse, the pain. So imagine me coming out of the race day and then go there and it's a sprained wrist, and Gennusa came out for a sprained wrist. Now, you bet my butt is going to be out there. So I was like, let's roll around both motos. I'll go get checked out after. But I got to tell you, when I went over the gate on the first moto and they taped up my wrist great, and I was questioning it, my mechanic drove my quad down the gate. So I didn't ride since I had that bad hit. So when I went back out to do the Moto 1, and I rolled over the gate, I had no intentions of going fast or, trying to go for a win because I did not have that in me. Right. As soon as I went over the gate, I felt like the chatter in my hands, like I knew right away, like this is broken. Like 100% at that point, I was like, my wrist is done. So I rolled around, got my points, just to cross my fingers, and came back into the hospital, x-ray, clear as day, clean break all the way through. I'm in a cast now. So they initially said I didn't need surgery. I went back for a follow-up scan right before he casted me, and he says, you need a CT scan. Now, I should have got that already, and I didn't, and I wasn't able to get that, believe it or not, until this morning. So it's about 3+ weeks later. I got a scan this morning on my wrist. I go back to the orthopedic on Friday to get my cast off. Now, I'm still very far out from riding. It's not like get your cast off, work for 2 weeks, and you'll be riding. It's a pretty long process, and there's a very strong chance I'm going to need surgery. Now, it's not pin and plated. It's not going to be pin and plated. So it's not on the bone. It's actually on the top of the bone. And it's quite difficult to explain if I don't have a picture in front of me to show you. But what the orthopedic doctor was concerned about, and he's like, listen, you don't have to get this surgery by any means. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But if you don't, and where the tissue pushed in the top of your bone, if you don't get this surgery, you will lose some range in your wrist and you will have bad arthritis as you get older. So that's a tough one to swallow. So I look at a lot now, and it's just been like a roller coaster mentally for me for the past 3 weeks. And, I wanted to go 10 years of pro class, top fives, and then it kind of gets taken from me. I took it for myself. There's no one else to blame. I'm the one riding, so it's my fault. But what's hard is to accept the fact that if you miss one race, it's very, very difficult, unless you're a Joel Hetrick winning every single moto. It's very difficult to come back. And I got a little bit of heat from like my circle last race, and then the next ones are like, just go roll around. And there's not a whole lot of gain for me. You have to look at the big picture. And it's not like that I'm so worried about re-injuring it, because I'll only be able to go so fast with how it feels, because it still definitely hurts. If you miss a race, you're kind of out of the points. And for me, like I'm in or I'm out. And I feel like right this second I'm out because I have to be, because I missed that race. So I can't promise it. I'd love to be back for Pleasure Valley if things go planned. And, if I can go to Travis Bader, a physical therapy start next week. When this comes off, I'll go to him. And I'm not going to hop back on a quad until I feel strong enough. I want to say working out, but in the hand first. I'm going to be 29 in 2 days. I'm not getting any younger. I'm not old, but I'm not getting any younger. I'm trying my best to be a little bit smart about this whole thing. And I won't hop on a quad, and I kind of refuse to until I feel 100%, because I don't want to get on and then start feeling it right away or possibly injure it. And then I'm going to be kicking myself in the butt when, ultimately I want to get on and be like, fresh start, do the last few races. You got nothing to lose, make the best of it. I don't have much more to say than that. The whole thing's a hard pill to swallow. So I know I just spoke a lot, but that's my last 3-week story.
No, man, I get it. I knew you were going to have a lot to say. I knew it had to have been kind of a whirlwind of emotions and everything else. I knew that there was a lot going into it. There's a few things I want to comment on. First of all, the video itself. I don't know how Gloop always has a video of everything that happens. It's insane. But you see the video, you see the impact, and it is such a violent shot that arm gets, that right arm, like. It's insane. Like you said, the force had to go somewhere, but the way it almost like shoots off the bar almost. Yeah, man, it's not a surprise that you had some kind of break going on in there. And then the other thing is I'm kind of in agreement with you on being all in, or like why doing it half-assed, because not that you'd be doing it half-assed, you'd be going out there doing your best, getting as many points as you could. But at the same time, at this point, like what is the difference? You missed that race already. Now you've missed High Point. You're a number of points down at this point, and it would be better for you and the way people are going to remember, and even you, the way you or others are going to remember your 2024 season. It would make a whole lot more sense to rest up, get healthy, and come out swinging at the last few races, and maybe you put it on the podium or something. Like that would be the best way to salvage this season. I know that obviously, I'm sure, like to do a decade straight of top fives in the pro class would have been freaking awesome, but at the same time, you were 9.5. You know what I mean? Like no big deal. Like everybody's going to always remember it the same way. You were the top 5 guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like what's the difference?
Yeah, it was just more of a mental thing. 10.
I get it. I would have done the same thing. At the same time, like I'm the guy that even covers it, and I'm going to think of it no different whether you did it 9 times or 10.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we're our own worst enemy, and where I can admit a little bit where I never really thought about it until I saw it like on paper, and it's like, well, I've done this 8 times, and then last year, and then I would like tried hard for 9. Now it's 9 years straight, and then this year, it's not like I put pressure on myself, but it was always in the back of my head every race this year, and it's not like it was messing with me. Like I was still nailing top 5s. I had a couple rough motos, but I was still top. I got 4th, 5th, 5th, or whatever it was in the first 3 races. I was well on my way to it again.
Yes.
And, again, I was thinking about it. Do I think it had to do with that brain fart? No, not really. We weren't even on the race yet. That was just, if you listen to what I wrote or what I said in that video, I think about it more. I didn't want to come off blaming the track because the track's going to water. It's not like I didn't know. We watched them water it. So I know they watered it. So now it's my responsibility to adapt to that, which I should and do as a racer. But it's ultimately what threw me off. It's not their fault. I'm the one riding the quad. I'll take the blame. So I don't want to blame the track. It's nothing I haven't seen. Because the lap before, I spun off that, didn't go anywhere. I went like half the distance. So I came around, well, the track's drying up. And 2 minutes later, made a big difference. And it was very unexpected. And then I didn't realize I messed up till I was in the air because going off the jump felt fine until I was up there. And I'm like, man, I'm still coming down right now. And yeah, the hit is violent. And it's kind of deceiving because it happens so quick. But if you can like save the video to your camera roll and slow-mo it and you really see like the hit, it's hard. Mm-hmm. Like it's the hardest hit I've ever taken on a quad. And I'm surprised I didn't knock any teeth out or anything. That was crazy.
Yeah. And it's one of those things like we all, like if you've ridden long enough, you know what it feels like to have overshot something and you see the ground coming. And just like you said, like you even closed your eyes and then like we all know like the pitch of the quad, right? Like, you know, that feeling when it's like you're in the flat kind of dead pitch where it's just going to hit really hard. And
I think I could have saved it. Like, I think if, not to cut you off, but if my front end was higher, it would have absolutely been a hard hit. But it wasn't like low. Like initially I thought I was nosedive, but I wasn't. But it wasn't meant to take like where I landed. That was not like I blew through the front travel and it just went right to my arms.
Yeah,
like,
you had no shot.
I needed to hit rear first.
Yeah.
I still would have felt it, but I don't think I would have broke my wrist. But.
Right. Yeah. I think that like you're hitting the nail on the head. That pitch of that quad makes a world of difference. So anyways, kind of tying a bow on that, obviously wanted to give you an opportunity to fill people in. I know you don't know all the answers yet. It sounds like there could be a surgery in your future. However that plays out, we're obviously wishing you the best. It's pretty cool to think about having Travis Spader in your corner. I know he's been a guy that you've been tight with for a lot of years, a decade plus. But to have him in your corner for something like this is a pretty awesome tool too. Like obviously, again, anybody that's done this long enough has worked with physical trainers. You know, if you race for long enough, like that's something that you're going to very much go through. But to have a physical therapist that, you know, kind of knows the whole thing, knows the whole ATV motocross thing, especially like Travis Spader, a former champion, doesn't really get much better than that, pal.
Yeah, it's awesome. We spent a lot of time with each other about 10 plus years ago. And, you know, we didn't like, there was nothing bad by any means. We didn't talk for like a little bit of time. And then, you know, I got my track here about 4 years ago and we started talking again. And because I think we didn't talk so much because I think he got out of riding, you know, when he made a short comeback for like the vet classes, he had fun.
Yep.
But I got my track, then he got word of it. And he actually recently, only like a few months ago, just got another dirt bike. And I've been twisting his arm on the Legends race coming up. And it's funny because like one day he's the first time he's like, I'm not interested. And then he came back a week later and says he wants to do it. And it was like kind of on and off. I'm not going to push him to do it. I think he wants to. I can't speak for him. Actually, the last time, I will say, he would laugh if you heard this. The last time he was at my house, which was only like 2 weeks ago, to ride his dirt bike. Okay. He wanted to do it on like an old setup, like not a new YFC. Like he wanted to do it for fun and do it on like a 250R or something. So that was the last time I spoke to him about it. But maybe we could pull him through last second, but no idea. I'm not going to make any promise for him, and I can't speak for him.
Well, I would love for that to be the case. The dude's like impossible to get a hold of.
Oh, I know.
You know, he's terrible when it comes to that, but would be an amazing addition to the Legends race for sure. I know that Jeremy is wanting to get as many of these past champions and guys, you know, race winners and stuff like that. So it really feels like a Legends race, and I think we're totally on our way to that. But a guy like Travis Spader being involved would be obviously a huge thing for this race. So one other thing, pal, before we kind of finish up on you and get into the racing on High Point, I know, you know, and you know, we've harped on the streak of top fives year after year. I've talked about it a ton on these shows and all these things. And I talk about it because I do think that it's a incredible accomplishment to do for 9 years. It's amazing. But it didn't hit me until your injury that it's just as incredible. Like the podium streak is just as incredible as the fact that you went this span of time, essentially a decade, without missing a race due to injury or dealing with any kind of major injury. That's incredible in itself. And until now, until you go through this, like I never really thought about it really, because it was almost like expected. You had done such a great job of doing it year after year that you had set that standard. And to think that you never went through something, had never had a hard enough crash or anything like that to deal with any kind of major injury that took you out of the running for these races, man, to think you went 10 years and it took that long for something like this to happen, man, is just as incredible as anything, because you're not just out there cruising around or, in the C class or the B class or whatever. Like you're literally at the point of this thing going as fast as anybody in the world, pushing the limit, as much as anybody. And to think that you never endured anything like this until now, man, what a blessing that is.
That's for sure a blessing. Don't get me wrong, I've definitely had my crashes and things where I got extremely lucky. So if you think back the last 10 years, I actually, if you remember, when I was on that Honda, I dislocated my shoulder. Now, I didn't miss any races. I dislocated my shoulder right before the Texas National. I think there was a 3-week gap. Okay. I went to the hospital that day. They popped it back in. I didn't ride for like 3 weeks. I had like an EVS, shoulder brace, and I had raced that next race. That was one. And I didn't miss anything. I think I went back to a fifth that race as well. It worked well, and nobody really would have known, but I absolutely dislocated my shoulder. Believe it or not, something probably nobody knows is in 2020, I broke my leg in October. So I didn't miss any races, so I didn't need to say anything. I'm trying to think. I broke my leg in like the beginning of October on a pit bike, of course. Okay. It was actually not even on a 90. It was on a 110. I was riding through the woods with my friends. We weren't really goofing off, and my foot peg clipped a root on like a grooved out trail, and I got sent into a tree, and I broke my tib. Yeah. I never said anything about it because again, I didn't need to. I wasn't missing anything. Mm-hmm. I think I still ended up racing. No, I did. Because it was the beginning of October. I still raced my Turkey Derby race like 7 weeks later. I think it's actually really funny. Barely. I barely made it, but I still did. If that was in the middle of the season, I would have absolutely missed a race or two. I didn't need surgery. I still got pictures of that X-ray. That's no BS. I absolutely broke my leg. I was on crutches for like 6 weeks. You know who saw it? Because Jason Decker flew me down to his facility right before they opened to build their pit bike track and asked him where anybody was there. I showed up on crutches because I kind of similar what I just did last week. I committed to a track build. I got hurt, and then I still ended up doing it hurt. And I rode a pit quad to the skid steer years ago and hopped in and like my boot or whatever, and then I ended up doing the whole thing.
Just had to do it.
Any of them down there knew that, and they kept it quiet too. There was no reason to make a big deal out of it. But all right, so skipping ahead, didn't need to miss any races. Got very lucky with the timing of those two. Mm-hmm. I had a really, really bad wreck at my own house as recent as last winter. Not the one I just trained for, but technically 2 winters ago. There was a video going around recently of Jeffrey Rastrelli, and he just had mentioned that he was going to miss High Point because of a sprained, whatever. And there was like some people always missing races, only sprained. And then I was like, okay, let me see the video. And then there is a video. I don't think he has it posted, but if you've seen it, you'd understand. And what happened to his is exactly what happened to mine, where his quad blew up on the face of a jump, where mine had like a bad harness connection, so my quad cut out on the face of a triple, and his and my wreck looked exactly the same. Now there's no video of mine where we bailed, where the quad endos, you jump over the bars, and there's truly nothing more scary on the quad than having to bail like that and then the quad chasing you. And as soon as I saw Jeffrey's wreck, I was like, that's exactly what happened to me. And I was beat the hell up for a long time. And as you get older, you can only take hits so hard, and I didn't break anything. I think I had like a mild concussion. I totaled my quad at the time. I had to get a whole new frame, that. My leg that I broke, didn't re-break it, but I hurt the hell out of it. My shoulder, like everything. Dude, I was shot for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And that was training. That was like 6 weeks before Daytona last year. And it's crazy. So we didn't ride for 3 weeks, built a whole new freaking practice quad. I built this quad get back on the track with like 3 weeks till Daytona. My first day back, I wreck again in the whoops where I like swapped out and wrecked. And I'm like, remember laying there, not injured, but hit hard again. Man, what the heck is going on? And I think I lost a lot of things happens over 10 years because you lose a little bit of, it's not like you lose patience, but if you get a glimpse of if you're any less than what you were, you try extra hard. Mm-hmm. And then, you push the envelope and, it becomes a little bit harder. And that's where you got to give the guys credit, like Chad Wienen, who's went so long, or even Joel Hetrick. He's not as old as Chad, but he's still up there dominating. And I might sound like an old guy talking about this, but it's pretty drastic as a male athlete, how much your body changes and how you feel. Like I can still put out great numbers when I'm working out, still like number wise when I'm running, to time miles, this, that, my motos are strong, but the recovery is very important where some days I feel like I wake up and I got hit by a truck. And it used to not be like that. So the recovery is very important. And there was this interview on Eli Tomac talking about, as he got about 30 years old, where you got to know when to take the break. And that's been something I've had to adapt to the last couple of years, is listening to your body, because I definitely don't listen to my body enough. And it's where, even like this injury, it's important. You got to listen to your body and let it do its thing.
We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. The official tire choice of Digging Deep, CST tires are the choice of ATV racing's elite on the track, in the woods, and every other terrain. CST tires swept the ATV racing world in 2022 as Joel Hetrick, Bryson Neal, and Bo Barron rode their Pulse MXR and Pulse HT tires to an ATV Pro Motocross title, GNCC XC1 Pro title, and 10th ATV Pro Works Racing title, respectively. Led by champion Joel Hetrick and podium contenders Bryce Ford, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Nick Gennusa, CST's Pulse MXR tire is the most trusted tire in ATV motocross today. Available in soft and standard compounds, the Pulse MXR offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. And did I mention they have a contingency program as well? Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. The best of the best choose CST. Do you? You know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, as the Yamaha YFZ 450R is the official ATV of Digging Deep. In a move started by 8-time ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, who with his next championship will become the winningest champion in ATV motocross history, we are living in ATV racing's YFZ 450R era. Alongside Wienen, 7-time GNCC XC1 Pro ATV National Champion Walker Fowler welcomed a pair of new champions to the Yamaha Champions Club, as the podium-proven Yamaha YFZ 450R proved to be the winning choice for Joel Hetrick and Bryson Neal. This unprecedented success for the YFZ 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the clear fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has resulted in a complete Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Evident by the continuation of Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program, Yamaha riders will once again cash in on payout and prize opportunities in 2023, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com. Follow Yamaha Outdoors, as well as the new Blue Crew official channel on social media, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. SSI Decals, your way. SSI Decals sets the standard with the best looking decals, graphics kits, and vinyl wraps in the industry. Established in 1947, SSI took shape as an offshoot of their parent company by doing a little work for local pro Chad Wienen. Nearly 2 decades later, and fueled by a passion for ATVs, the company has flourished into one of ATV Moto's most recognized brands. From ATV motocross, SSI has expanded into graphics and design work for top racers in GNCC, Works Racing, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Off-Road, and more, headlined by 8-time world champion Top Fuel drag racer Clay Millican. Whether your project is big or small, SSI Decals will make your identity stick. Get started today at SSIDecals.com and use code DIGGINGDEEP10 for 10% off at checkout. Things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their wide range of championship-winning chains. From the street to the track and everywhere in between, DID chains are designed to give you the optimal riding experience with great performance and increased chain life. Consistent to the core, pick up your box of reliability today. DID, what drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Namura Technologies. For over 20 years, Namura has pushed the limit of value and reliability in the ATV and side-by-side market. Covering more applications than anyone in the industry, Namura's full line of cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, and industry-leading top-end repair kits and more have led to higher overall engine performance for your machine. Visit your local dealer or online at www.namura.com and follow along on Instagram for giveaways and exciting new products in 2023. Namura Technologies, your one-stop shop engine component supplier. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals and cylinders, shock and suspension parts, winches, clutch kits, valves, carb kits, bearing kits, and drive chain parts, Bronco is your hard parts source for whatever you need, for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world, visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com.
For over 150 years, Valvoline has been dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. As a proud member of Team Valvoline for nearly a decade, I have witnessed their unwavering commitment to pushing the boundaries of performance. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, solidifying their position as a powerhouse within the industry. Being a part of this historically great team has been an incredible privilege. When it comes to my equipment, whether it's my daily commuting vehicles, race quads, or anything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline. Their range of products and lubricants consistently deliver increased horsepower, durability, and engine life. I'm excited to announce Valvoline's breakthrough in performance, Valvoline Ultimate Power Sports. With up to 8 times stronger rust protection and 50% better wear protection, this cutting-edge formula ensures your ATV's engine runs smoother and longer for the ultimate ride. Tackle rugged terrains with confidence knowing your ATV's engine is equipped with the best protection available. Ready to experience the next level of performance? Head over to shop.valvolineglobal.com and use code DIGGINGDEEP10 at checkout to unlock an exclusive 10% off on your purchase. Don't miss out on this limited time offer to enhance your ATV's performance with Valvoline's Ultimate Power Sports engine oil.
I'm very curious to know, since this is Digging Deep podcast.
Yeah.
It's how many, I don't know if we should look at top 5s or 5th overalls have I gotten in, say, 10 years in pro class. You would have to go through each year and count. And I'm very curious to know what it is myself, because I think it's quite a bit.
Oh, it's got to be more than...
It's more than half, I would think. But
I was going to say it's more than 50 for sure.
Yeah, so I've done 90-something nationals in pro. I guess it depends, because some years we had like 11, I think, 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. I think. So it's 90, it's like mid-90s, something like that I've done.
Yeah, man, I can't imagine it, and it's crazy. Like I said, to think that much time goes by, to think that like where you were 10 years ago, to think that you've been that guy in the pro class for that long, it's hard to quantify it. You have to sit there and think, man, like 10 years is a really long time. I've been a staple of the ATV motocross community in the pro class for all this time. At the same time, though, it has to feel like it was almost just yesterday.
No question about it. Yeah.
You were on the come up just yesterday, and now you're like, one of the most veteran of all veteran guys in the class. It's crazy how quickly that becomes a thing.
I remember sitting in Daytona the first year the quads were at Daytona, which was my rookie year. And I remember talking to Joel for a second on the gate, and he had several years under his belt at that point. And I'm trying to remember how the conversation went. It was pretty quick, where it was my first one. And maybe I said something along the lines of, I kind of felt him out, like, this is new to me, like, I'm excited, but kind of, I don't really know what this is all about. And he's Joel, like, he's not, to me, he's actually really humble. He's not cocky or whatever. And he's basically like, you're going to find out. And it wasn't anything like disrespectful or mean. It was, I'm trying to remember. It was along those lines, but I remember it pretty strictly. And to think about in 10 years, I don't even know where the hell the time went. Because it seems like I remember the first 1 or 2, and then like 6 or 7 of them went by so fast, like a blur. And I think about the eras that I raced in, where like I came in my first race and season or 2, like I was racing with John Natale, and like Joe Bird was still in it. Josh Upperman was still in it. Did a few races with David Hagsma, and even like Ronnie Higgerson. Like they were names that were there way before me. Think about like Joe Byrne and John Latale, like big names, past champions, and like they're like in their 40s, and I was like 19. And then the years go by, and then you have the younger guys like the Lindquist, Ford, Hogue, and I've raced with a lot of different eras, and I think a lot of people might give me a little bit of heat on it's been the same thing for so long, and like on paper it has, but the level of people has changed, and it's we probably spoke about this before, but it's two totally different or three different eras that I've raced with a lot of great talented people.
Yep.
And I think it's just something to recognize. I'm not just not for me, but all the people I race with, like they're no slouches. They're legit.
No, and it's cool to think about all the different riders that you did, compete against, because I was at that same kind of era, right? Like when I was a pro racing, John Natale and Joe Bird and Josh Creamer was in there at the time. And like there was a lot of really good guys, Upperman, like all kinds of good guys. And now you've been in the period since then. And now you're in the period now where you're kind of looked up to as one of those guys. And you don't get to span those types of generations if you don't go through injuries like you did and race through some shit and all that stuff. And that's why before, what I was going to say, I was choosing my words wisely, because I wasn't saying, hey, you didn't go through anything. You were just good for 10 years. Like, I know that that's obviously not how this goes. I know you raced some races, probably busted up like you were kind of outlining and just coming back just in time to race. And I'm sure we all know what that feeling is like when you're going to the racetrack and you're going to the line and you're like, man, I know I'm not 100%, but let's see what I got here. And you made the most of it. And for all of those seasons, for the last 9 seasons, to think that you finished in the top 5, man, it's just such an incredible stat. So I'll continue to say it. But so one thing I do want to say that we haven't got to yet is it would be since before you were a pro, dating back 10 plus years now, would have been the last time that you watched a pro race. So what was that like at High Point to watch a pro race for the first time in 10 years?
I gotta say, when they actually took off and went over the gate, there was like this, I don't know what the word is, like some kind of like deep feeling of just like, man, like I'm supposed to be in that and I'm not, and I'm up here. And like, obviously it was too late at that point, but like I should be there. And it's not like I chose to, just not, it's, I'm injured, and it sounds so goofy, but I just don't know what it's like. So watching it from, up in that tower is a different perspective. I think it was good. Like, I still try to take the good away from it. Like, I was watching everybody and I wanted to be out there so bad. And something I can say as a spectator is, and it's funny, like when people watch Jet Lawrence race in dirt bikes in the Outdoor Nationals, Supercross, whatever, he's so good. And when people are really good at something, they make it look very easy. So as I watch like some of the pro quad national, and take this for what it is, as I'm watching the race, I'm like looking at these guys, I'm like, it didn't like look easy to me, but it's like, I can do that. Like I can do that. But like Joel's like making it like easy, like, and I'm like, I can do that. But it's one of those things that is so much harder than it looks. And where it's like, well, it's funny that my mind is telling me it's easy, just like every other spectator on the side that wants to tell us what to do or think they can do better. But I quickly remind myself, I've been with these guys 90-something weekends, hundreds of motos, to know that, like, it's funny, like, I thought to myself, like, don't convince yourself this is easy. You've raced with every single one of these people. It's totally a different look when you're on the track with them, and it's not. And it, in a way, like it looked like I'm watching Joel and Bryce and who, Max, they're going, top 3.
Yep.
I got that. And like some days I did get that, like I had really, really good races and stuff, but I just feel like it looks easier on the sideline than when you're on the track. I go on the track, well, it's not that easy. So it's like, I had this quick feeling that it was like, nah, you know how hard this shit is. So,
well, nobody knows better than you. And maybe this isn't the right time to say it. Maybe it is, but I know that the numbers obviously for the class right now are not the greatest. Like we're looking at your your quote unquote tier in ATV fantasy, the dudes that we stack you up against in ATV fantasy every week, like Max was the only one left, between Max and Jeffrey being out and you being out and Wesley being out. It's a really hard way to see the class right now. But at the same time, whether it's right now or obviously with the addition of you guys, with Jeffrey in there, with you in there, with Wesley in there, like, I don't think that we have seen a class as good as this and as long as you've been racing, man. Like, I truly believe that. And I know that people just want to say, oh, it's not the same. And, look at the classes, look at the numbers, this, that. But that class, with the way that Joel is riding at alien level, Bryce is like really seemingly pushing him. Brandon's really good. It's elevating every single person in the class to the point that I don't think that the class has ever been this good. I truly believe that.
Again, it's another one of those things where I think like Joel's level, you compare it to like a Jet Lawrence of like skill. When they're that dominant, it's not that it hurts the sport. Like, Joel's not hurting the sport.
No.
When somebody is that good, I think the only thing it might hurt a little bit is he's so much, or I don't want to say so much, but he's that little bit better that looks so much that it overshadows all of our other work and skill. And that's not to blame anyone, but like, right. I'm giving him credit. Like, his skill is so high, similar to Jet Lawrence, where they're so high, they can go and win every moto. And it makes us look like we don't try or we don't work or we have talent.
Well,
and, again, you've said this before, if you think we don't, come race us, and you find out 10 out of 10 times that that's a hardworking class. And, touching on the numbers a little bit in that class, whether it be like an all-time low, really due to injury, mostly this year from the people coincidentally across the board.
Yep.
I just think that I read a lot of stuff on Facebook and people like are bashing us in the pro class. Like, don't bash us. Whether you're first or last in that class, we're the guys who are out there. So we are literally the show. And without that last place guy or without, the 10th or the first, like, give the guys out there the credit. We're Absolutely. At least out there. So it's not our fault. We show up. We drove 1,000+ miles. We trained all week. We're still out there. If you want to complain about it, come race.
Well, not only that, man, it feels a lot like 2011. When the class was about this size, and then they changed, or 2012 or whatever it was, and then they changed the Pro-Am rules, and then 10 guys from the Pro-Am class moved up to the Pro class, and the same Pro class guys were 1 through 10, and it just so happened that then the Pro-Am guys at the time were from essentially, not everybody, but essentially from 10 to 20. So if you took Pro-Am or Pro Sport and put them out there, yes, there's a couple guys that would get in the mix, but for the most part, that class is so fast right now, even the 10 guys that are showing up on the weekend, that those 10 guys are freaking as gnarly as can be. And if you threw the best amateurs out there, they would slot in behind those top 10 guys. So yes, I would love if we had 10 more guys out there. And I don't even want to go down this road because I'm a positive guy, right? But if we had 10 more guys out there that would make you guys look better, that would be awesome. But I don't want to let that take away from what the top 10 in the pro class look like to me, because I don't need 10 more guys out there to have me appreciate how fast you guys are going. I guess that's like my biggest message that I have, is whether there's 10 guys behind 10th place or not, that doesn't matter to me, because I know everyone out there in the pro class is lighting the world on fire.
No question about it. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So you didn't have to go to High Point, but you did anyway. And that got noticed and praised on the internet. So take me through that. Was that ever a consideration to not go or anything like that? Kind of take me through that decision there.
Yeah. So a couple things. So some people, if you follow me on social media, I went and built a track for somebody. This gentleman, Josh Schiffer, who just bought Tri-City Raceway, which is a dirt track that still holds car racing.
It looks sick too. Your finished product looks amazing.
He calls me up like 2 months ago, just bought this track. It's got this big infield. I went in open-minded, and I'll start this will make sense.
Yep.
He gave me the dimensions. I drew the track, and I committed to it. I got hurt. Again, similar to the Decker deal, I got hurt, committed to it. I'm still going to do it. So I was going to start that track a couple days after High Point, and it was like maybe 2 hours from the track, but it's like, well, I have to go out there next week. Let me just I'm a few days early. It's 2 hours out of the way. Well, let's go to High Point, And again, I was going that direction, but I wasn't going that early, and it wasn't going out of the way. But it was like, this is close, and I want to go and show people I'm all right. And I didn't really think about it till I was on the way, and then I texted Harv. I was like, if you guys need anyone commentating in the tower, and I'm not looking to take the spotlight from Ronnie or whoever else.
Mm-hmm.
And they seemed to enjoy it because it was something different. But I wanted to go and just it was just, the whole weekend was tough. Like, it was weird waking up on Saturday morning with no agenda and no like go and like on my routine. Like, I'm dialed with my times and what time I'm eating, what I'm eating, the stretching, sleeping. I'd be lying if I said the stress was at an all-time low, because race weekends, like, they are a little bit stressful. Like, you think they're not, but they always are a little bit.
For sure. Yeah.
It was like, I kind of just did whatever I want and was there, and it was just different. Like, it was, I just felt like I should be out there. And the beginning of the day, it looked a little muddy, and then it ended up looking really good. And it was like, damn, I really want to be out there. It looks awesome.
Yeah, well, it was cool. No matter what the story was, it was really cool to have you there. And like I said, the internet noticed and gave you credit for it. So yeah, stoked that you were there for my sake too, that I have you here to talk about the races. So let's get into that a little bit, Nick. The day really started with some really competitive back and forth action at the top of the qualifying board. In that second qualifier specifically, Bryce Ford really pushed Joel kind of to the limit for that top spot. But Joel would end up getting him by 2/10. So I was really impressed by Bryce there in the qualifier. Hogue was third fastest, Lindquist was fourth fastest, and Kevin Saar rounded out the top five. So Nick, like you kind of just said, wet on Friday, a little sloppy Saturday morning, but by the time the qualifiers were going on, the track had really come around.
Track looked awesome. It was funny in the beginning of the day. I'm like, yep, I'm happy I'm not out there. Everyone was coming off caked, and then it's that heavy mud High Point. Like, you are feeling that weight of that. And then as that day got on, like, the moto time was freaking awesome. And the qualifying was good. Bryce had a really fast lap, and then I saw on Joel's pit board they put P2, and I think he was shook, and I think it kind of lit a fire under his ass. And then he put in like 4 straight hard laps. I watched him do it, and like, Joel had fastest, and then Bryce got like a second and a half faster, and then whether it's 2/10 or not, Joel is that alien. Like, he finds his way to just not knowing who was in second or what the time was, he'll just do it better. He's just going to do it better than you. And and he is that talented. And he, I think, like I said, I think it lit a fire under him, and he put in those hard laps, and he beat it in the final hour, final minute of it. But it was impressive to watch that and see how close they were. And, even in the motos, Joel had a really dominant couple motos, but Bryce definitely pushed him in the first or second lap. I wouldn't say Joel was holding him up, but Bryce was definitely pushing Joel like all over him for that first lap of the second moto. But the difference with Joel, and is what I said on the spot, was if you listened to quad radio that day, at the end of the day, you really can only ride a quad so fast. It's all about who's making the least mistakes. And Joel makes mistakes, but Joel's making less mistakes as everybody. And he has this erratic riding style that everybody knows about. And you always hear people talking, Joel looks like he's going to crash the whole time. He's more under control than you think, number one. Or more under control than it looks, because I agree, sometimes it looks insane, some of the stuff he pulls off. But he's making less mistakes than everybody, and that's how he pulls away. And like, you watch Bryce all over him, and he's like in the draft of the win, and like one little just like spin out of the turn, like the slightest bit, that's all it takes when you're racing Joel Hetrick. For him, he's just, if you're going the same speed, which arguably they were, Joel's not making that mistake, and that's why that gap ends up expanding a little bit. Yeah, for sure. So Bryce, we kind of saw Bryce push Joel for most of the day. We saw it in the qualifier. We saw it primarily in the second moto. That's something that obviously, we'll discuss here. But do you think that that's Bryce chipping away and getting closer to going Joel's speed? Or do you look at that as more of a racetrack thing? Like, it's more of a High Point thing? You can't say it's not, because if I say it's not, I mean, it's not that it's not going to go over well with people, but yeah, I mean, he obviously had a great day. You can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
I do also think Bryce is a great hard pack rider. His track at home, it's not hard pack. I mean, I rode there quite a bit years ago. It's not hard pack, but Bryce does really well in hard pack, whether it's a good setup or his engine package is working really well. Regardless, you can't take it away from him. At the end of the day, you still got to ride the damn quad. Mm-hmm. So if he's pushing Joel around like that at, say, the next track, like a Sunset Ridge, or like where we were in where was it? Echikani, rough tracks, or like your setup, your fitness, this and that. If he's pushing Joel around those, I think you got a serious contender on your hands. Now, I'm not taking anything away from anybody that gets second, just still the runner up. Hard pack is hard pack. You're either really good on it or really not, I think. So
yeah, and honestly, and I'm not trying to put you in a situation to say something bad about another rider, fellow rider, or anything like that. It was just more, and I almost look at it almost as a positive doing it at High Point, because you could say in Joel Hetrick's professional career, High Point's one of his very best tracks. Like until Crawfordsville came around, it was probably his best one. So
I don't think Joel's ever been tested like that at his track in a long time. I don't want to say his track, but I don't know as if he's ever lost a moto there. He's very High Point.
Right. So that's kind of why I wanted to get you to comment on that.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the U.S. and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0, and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20.
Hey everyone, this is Larry Mills, president of DP Brakes North America and proud partner of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. We at DP Brakes are a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology, dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheel racers on the planet. This year's lineup includes Jeff Rastrelli, Mark Baldwin and Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Gennusa, and many more, including Mr. Digging Deep himself, Cody Jansen. Plus all the top 17 GNCC pros such as 7-time champion Walker Fowler, Bryce O'Neill, Hunter Hart, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and previous champion Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on top of the podium week after week. DP brakes are available through www.dp-brakes.com, or you can purchase them through your local Parts Unlimited stocking dealer, or you can even message us, myself, Larry Mills, or DP Brakes on Instagram or Facebook. And if you have any questions about product or sponsorship support, please ask us. We are waiting for you. Join the best ATV riders in the world equipped with DP Brakes, and have a great year, everyone.
Nearing 2 decades into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back and better than ever, continuing to make major waves in the ATV world. For the 3rd consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for 2-time champ Joel Hetrick. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of industry-leading products available for all makes and models. Head over to factory43atv.com today.
Hey everyone, it's Michelle Stillo, director of the D6 Ultimate Quad Series. We've been working hard over the years to bring you the very best in local ATV motocross racing. The D6 Ultimate Quad Series has race classes for all ages and skill levels. Maybe you're an experienced rider or you're just starting out, we have a class for you. We're excited to announce that we have 11 rounds of racing at tracks located in Pennsylvania, New York, and Maryland. For more information, follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
So let me kind of breeze through what happened in the motos here, and then we'll kind of get into, kind of to the overalls and stuff, just because I don't want to drag this out too much for people. So Moto 1 comes around. It's Hetrick, Hogue, Ford, right off the rip, 1, 2, 3. Per the usual, Mason Jackson and Kevin Sarr are together, as always, in 4th and 5th. And tell my listeners, Nick, what you talked about on air that day about these two. I think, was it Ron Jackson that said made this comment, but I'll let you kind of take it from there.
Mason Jackson's father, Ron, really nice guy. He's funny. We were talking a little bit, and I think it was in between the two motos, and he was acknowledging how Kevin Sarr and his son, Mason Jackson, go back and forth and how close they are in speed. Now, they're two totally different countries. They're both on Yamahas. Their setups are different. Their age is like maybe 4 or 5 year gap. So they have some differences, which is kind of cool.
Totally different riding style, too.
Yeah, totally different. But their speeds are really close. And they go back and forth. And I asked Ron, I was like, well, who wins in Pro-Am? And he goes, well, it depends. He goes, the theory is whoever starts in front of the other person ends up losing. So if Kevin Sarr starts ahead of Mason Jackson, Mason's going to beat him. If Mason starts ahead of Kevin, Kevin's going to beat him. I guess they go back and forth, or they're both better at riding behind. Which I always thought I was better at riding behind, personally. It's funny, when they took off, I had made that theory in the beginning of the moto to Rodney, and I think it was Kevin Sarr, or no, like even like the first moto, I don't know who.
The first moto, Mason Jackson was ahead.
And then Kevin Sarr passed.
Kevin Sarr makes the pass, yep.
So I make the comment to Rodney in like lap 2 or 3. I was like, hey, Rodney, look who found each other in this. Kevin Sarr's in front, so I guess that means Mason Jackson's going to come out in this. And then about halfway to the end, I acknowledge it, and I poked at Rodney. I was like, look what just happened here, and we were laughing. So I thought it was pretty funny.
I thought it was great. To be on the radio call, to drop this nugget, and then to have that happen exactly as you said it was going to. I thought that was perfect, pal.
Oh, yeah. No, it was funny, and I like stuff like that. It's interesting because if that happened with somebody, and somebody told me that, I would make sure if I was in front, they weren't beating me anymore.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
They're talented. They're both hard workers, and I think it's funny. It's something we should keep an eye on.
Oh, for sure. Both on Saturday and on Sunday in the Pro Class and in Pro-Am. Those two have been dicing it up, and that's been an awesome battle to watch. So just like you said, Kevin Sarr makes the pass on Mason Jackson for 4th there. Kevin's been rock solid. Bryce had made the move on Hogue by that point. Meanwhile, Max Lindquist was basically last after being on the podium at Ironman the week before. He started to make some moves from there. Meanwhile, up front, Joel Hetrick had grown his lead to about 5 seconds. Lindquist had made another pass. He was up into the top 5 now, making the pass on Mason Jackson, and then he got by Kevin Sarr as well. So at the finish, it was Joel Hetrick, little gap, Bryce Ford, Brandon Hogue, Max Lindquist, Kevin Sarr, Mason Jackson, Joey Chambers, Adam Ulrich, and Cody Ford. Moto 2 comes along. Track is much better and drier at this point. Joel Hetrick rips another hole shot, but this moto was totally different. Like we've kind of been outlining, we kind of jumped the gun on that, but that's totally okay. The fact that Bryce Ford was able to come out second, and he really shadowed Joel for basically this entire moto. And I really enjoyed watching Gloop's coverage of this on the Rip It Up Films videos and stuff, and the ATV motocross videos, because you can tell, like, it looks like, some of those videos you see like of the great outdoors in like 04 or 05 or whatever, where it's like Ricky Carmichael's the man, but there's a moto there where Chad Reed or Kevin Windham or somebody like that is shadowing him. And I found that really fun to watch. And not only that, but like every, and again, I don't know if it's weird, like I'm talking to you about a competitor of yours or whatever, but you're on the sideline for this one at least. But Bryce, every lap that he follows Joel that way is just stuff that he's throwing in his bag. Like cruising around 20 seconds behind Joel is totally different in what you're learning during a moto like that versus a moto where you're, within 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 seconds of Joel, kind of watching and trying to mirror what he's doing. Like those are very different. And every lap that Bryce is shadowing him at this point is probably invaluable. It'd be invaluable for anybody to shadow Joel like Bryce did. And he did that for a lot of the day there at High Point.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I've said it in a different way before, for someone like Bryce that was keeping pace like that for that first lap or two, you'll learn more as a rider in that, say, 2 minutes lap time, 4 minutes for 2 laps. You'll learn more in those 4 minutes than you will in anything else. I think if, I look back to even my race last year, and I'm not trying to make this about me, but I'm trying to give you a scenario.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, going to miss the next race, Budds Creek. I pulled that whole shot last year at Budds Creek in year 9. Now, I got one other whole shot years prior, but it's been a long time. But I learned more in those first 3 laps leading that race than I have in like years. So the point is, if you're starting up front, there's so much to learn. Your mistake and like you got to learn how to stay calm, breathing. That pace is wild. You learn more very quickly starting up front. Then like if you're starting in the back, you're learning how to pass, which that's all I've had to do is mostly pass my whole career until I picked up my starts recently.
Yeah.
You learn a lot. And if you're starting behind Joel Hetrick and keeping pace, you're learning even faster. Even if it's for 2 laps, you still learned it. It's one of those things. Again, with Joel, and I'm not trying to, blow smoke up his ass, but the difference with Joel is he does that the whole time. I'm not saying I can do it. We all want to do it. And one day Joel's not going to win forever. And everybody knows that. Nobody wins forever. But doing it for 2 laps is extremely impressive. I'm not taking anything away from Bryce. Mm-hmm. But the thing with Joel is he does it the whole time. And that's what makes him so dominant, because that's a much more difficult task than people think.
And he has done such an amazing job, dude, of it's so expected. Like I said before, it's like Ricky or James going 24-0, except Joel is even more in control than that. It feels like he hits every mark. He hits every single mark every single weekend and never looks in doubt. And I'm not just saying that because the class is a little light right now and Chad's also not there and all those things. We've seen it in recent years. So we've seen him morph from in 2011 being the dude that's, flipping, but then winning and coming out and going crazy 2 seconds a lap faster than anybody, but then laying on his head and then doing everything flashy and he's, whipping everything sideways and scrubbing the shit out of stuff and whatever. And now we've seen this maturation process of him figuring out winning and then figuring out how to be a champion and then being a back-to-back champion and all these things. And now it's got to the point where he's so good about hitting every single mark that it's so taken for granted. But that's why the dude's an alien, because he's going faster than anybody on the planet. Yet just like you said at the start of this, he makes it look so easy. It makes it look like anybody can go that fast. And that's the insane part of it.
Yeah. A lot of people even ask me, if you guys switch quads, I get this question all the time. How much better this, that? If you guys switch quads, what's the outcome? And people are like, well, if you could beat him on a 90 every year, how come you can't beat him on a 450? It's completely different. It's not apples to apples, number one. Now, I think if we switch quads, Joel would still win. Would it be closer? I don't know. Maybe it'd be a little closer. And again, going back, if say his quad is a little bit faster, you still got to ride it.
Yeah.
And that's where people are think this is just like a who's got the faster quad. Yes and no. More and no. You still got to ride the damn thing. I think he's got a rock solid program. I think his engine package is great. I think his suspension could be arguably the best, which is huge. He has a really good suspension program. Even though I have the same tuner, they're different shocks. They do a lot of work testing with him because he is Joel Hetrick.
Yep.
He has a very supportive wife, family. It's his 100% world all around. Yep. And you got to look at stuff like that. And there's no secret to why he is who he is, because his head is on straight. He lives, breathe, eat, sleep ATV motocross. Not that I don't. I'm involved with other things. Most of my life is too. But our lives are different. So is Bryce Ford's life different, and Chad Wienen's life. We all got different things going on. But Joel's got a program that's very difficult to beat right this second. Eventually, by somebody. Eventually, he knows that if he was listening to it, Joel, you will be beat eventually. Eventually, somebody comes along, and if he retires before then he'll go undefeated. But if he keeps going, same with Chad. Everybody thought nobody would beat him for years, and then somebody eventually chips away at it, whether it be Bryce Ford or Brandon Hogue or whoever, or someone else new comes in. That's the sport. But I think he think he dominates for quite some more time, believe it or not, before someone actually takes a championship away from him.
Oh, I think so too, because I always, watching this guy, and I know that you just got to watch him for the first time in 10 years, but the dude always has, I swear he's always got 2 seconds a lap in the bag. Like if he needed to go that much faster, it's like, I think he could. I really think he could. Like we've never seen the dude get tested, not in a few years here, but he's so perfect. And just like you said, his whole program is so spot on and everything is so in lock. It's perfect. And I got to comment on, and then we'll speed this up here, but I got to comment on the fact that the quad thing, because I don't look at our sport at all like it's like the quad has that much to do with it. I mean, yes, like if you got a bone stock TRX and then your race quad sitting next to it, like obviously I'm not dumb like that. I understand that makes a difference, but otherwise I think for the most part, especially in the pro class or pro sport or pro am or any classes like that, A classes, even like the faster dude is going to win. Like that's just how that works. Like everybody's stuff is close enough to where it's rider more than machine. I don't even ever question the quad thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you break down some videos of Joel, and it's hard to tell in every corner, but certain stuff, if you pay attention to it, no music, no nothing in the background, you could hear pretty clearly.
Yep.
We're like, he's on the throttle that much more. That's not a who's faster quad thing. That's who's on the gas and who's not.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell because it could be like a tenth quicker, but still quicker.
Yeah.
So again, in my opinion is, his suspension could be the best. I heard recently that, I forget who was telling me, that they said he might have one of the slowest quads in pro class by choice. And think about that. There's truth to that as well. Or traction is, you got to have power to the ground. Again, I'll say it a million times. You got to be able to ride the damn thing. So,
well, I heard plenty of stories when he was a younger guy in the pro class of them having way too much power for him and him not being able to ride it and him wanting less power. So I don't know if that's reality anymore, but I do remember back in the Honda days when people were trying to make freaking 65 horsepower and like you can't ride the thing wicked at 65 horsepower for 25 minutes, dude. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, he's a small guy like me, so it doesn't take much to get the quad moving pretty quick. And,
right.
I totally agree with that. I don't know. We'll probably never know what his quad puts out.
Right.
It's something to think about. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if it was less. It wouldn't. It's where it is. Maybe they move that power to somewhere else where maybe it's on the top. Maybe it's all bottom. I mean, who really knows? We think we know, but we don't know. Regardless, he's got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's got to be rideable power. There's no debating that part. So second moto, it's Hetrick, Ford, Hogue, Saar, and Jackson. Again, early. Those two are side by side once again. A little bit better start for Max Lindquist. He's around sixth. Joel would get his lead up to 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds, something like that. Max Lindquist was making a couple passes. He was now into the top 5, but that's when we saw another heartbreaking stroke of bad luck for Brandon Hogue, Nick. He was in the mechanics area, and I think it was like a loose tie rod end or something like that. Tie rod end, I think, is what it was there. But another heartbreaker. After the heartbreaker we saw at Ironman when he blew that motor up, it was another heartbreaker for Brandon Hogue when he looked like he was in podium position here at High Point.
Yeah, and that's a tough one to swallow. He's a competitor of mine. I never, even if you're racing with somebody like that, a true competitor never wants to win like that. They want to do it straight up. They don't want you to crash. They don't want you to break something down. Yeah, it sucks to see. Every single one of us know out there that could happen to us at any given point. Like, nobody's perfect. It's just a matter of time where something breaks. I think his tie rod, and don't quote me on it, but what I heard out of the whole thing is his tie rod actually, like, the nut fell out and then it dropped the tie rod. So he had no steering on, I think, his right front wheel. Now, you obviously can't ride a quad like that, so it's not like he could have kept going. Like, there's no shot.
Right.
It sucks because he had a good first moto. Maybe he would have had something for Bryce, even though I think they would have been difficult because Bryce was moving. Maybe he would have had a better shot, learned a little bit first moto. That's where Bryce is at. I'm going to change these couple things, go back out, give it a good shot. Maybe he could have. We don't know. It sucks. Like, I definitely felt for, it's not him personally. I'm not blaming anyone. Somewhere along the line, I'd say it's somebody's fault somewhere along the line. Now, don't come at me, his team, but somewhere along the line, it's somebody's fault. And, I was talking to my mechanic, Tim TDR, about it, and he said the same thing. He's like, nobody should be laughing at that because again, that could happen to every single one of us. And we all make mistakes, even as simple as that. What might not have been a cotter pin in there. It might not have been tight. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
That's the sport, man.
Yep. Well, in between motos too, like tell the listeners, in between motos, there's not that much time. So by the time you come in and, your quad's getting washed off and you throw a new air filter in it and you do all those things, like there's not that much time. You're not checking every nut and bolt in between motos. It's not feasible. There's no way.
Yeah. I mean, there's not that much time. Now they change the schedule. There's technically a little bit more. It's still not that much time.
There's more than there was when I was a pro, but there still isn't that much time.
In the grand scheme of things, no, there's not much. But going back to a front tie rod end, no other mechanic's going to BS me. Like, they wouldn't have caught that either. Nobody checks that. It's something you do when you build the quad initially.
You lock it and you think it's good.
Absolutely never touch it again because it might have been a new quad that weekend. We don't know. He might have changed quads. It could have been a fresh build. That's usually when shit goes wrong, is when the quad's brand new and stuff comes loose.
Yeah.
It sucks, man, because I've had silly stuff like that happen. Actually, in races too, before, where something comes loose and like your throttle's loose or whatever, your front brake falls down, whatever. Like, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I still think he's pretty set in the top 3 in points. It might not be what he wants, and it's going to be quite difficult to catch back up to Bryce unless he has a little bit of luck or beats him here on out, which he very well could. I'm not saying he can't. Yeah, that's a tough one because the week before he blew up, and then they had that incident with that nut fall out. So hats off to him, still trying. If my only advice to Brandon or anything I could say, it could always be worse, buddy. You could be hurt. You could be completely out like me. You're still in the top 3. And similar to my social media posts I put out, if you're walking away from the track that weekend or even still talking about it, it was still a good weekend, even on your worst weekends,
Mm-hmm. It's all up from here for sure. So wouldn't be a podium weekend for Brandon Hogue after that. Obviously, as they ran, it was actually going to be Kevin Saar. In that moment, Kevin Saar would have been the podium guy if it would have ended right then and there. But Max Lindquist ended the suspense very quickly and claimed that spot, which would make it back-to-back podiums for him, while Brandon Hogue was 2 laps down by that point. So ultimately, Joel Hetrick doesn't build a huge gap in that second moto. We kind of talked about the gap that it was. Or it wasn't, but it was still another perfect day for him, taking the moto to an overall win at High Point, leading all the laps in the process. So Nick, I've asked, and we've said a lot about Joel Hetrick in this podcast so far, but I've asked all my co-hosts so far this season, and I'll ask you now. I don't know what there is left to say about this guy, but what do you have to say? I mean, obviously we've talked about him up and down this whole podcast so far. Like I get that, but I needed to at least put you on the spot to say what you have to say about this guy, and maybe it's predicting if he's going to go perfect or not, because by the midway point, he's looking awfully perfect, and that perfect season, whether he'd admit it or not, has got to be on his radar.
Yeah, I think
success in the ATV MX world is similar to what creates financial success as well. The right people, the right advice, and more importantly, hard work and the benefit of an ongoing relationship as situations change and adversity is experienced. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you reach your goals? Haymauer Financial Group can create a personalized, goal-based plan to help your family prepare for whatever life brings. Call me, Scott Haymauer, at Haymauer Financial Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, at 920-338-8150. That's 920-338-8150. Offices located in beautiful De Pere, Wisconsin, with registrations and clients nationwide.
Headlined by the 4130 Chromoly, Launderville Steel and Concrete Supply is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products. This racing family-owned full metal service center and concrete product supplier comes with over 30 years of experience serving the entire United States from their central Midwest location. As the #1 choice for nationwide shipments and with available next-day delivery in select areas, LSE has you covered near or far. 4130 is not just the chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for an array of motorsports applications, but it is also the name of the newest addition to the Pro Paddock with riders Jaden JJ Launderville and Max Lindquist, introducing the new 4130 Motorsports team. Launderville Steel offers a large selection of material for any project, including their concrete division that can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. For a quote or more info, visit laundervillesteel.com today or give them a call at 715-675-6193. That's 715-675-6193. Here at Digging Deep, we have an obvious passion for ATVs and pridefully enjoy sharing the sport's history. Since 2019, when the podcast was born, we've been working to partner with individuals who share our passion, but one man and his vision had been missing from our partnership group. Until now. When it comes to the sport's history, the hallowed grounds of Binky's Forever ATC Museum has it all. Binky Tapscott's mind-blowing collection of 3- and 4-wheelers has preserved history by spanning all makes and models, from Honda 3-wheelers in chronological order to unique builds that shaped ATV racing as we know it, like Doug Gust's iconic DRZ-powered hybrid thumper and everything in between. There's no denying Binky's passion, a passion that we certainly relate to here at Digging Deep. Binky's goal is to share his amazing collection with fellow enthusiasts by making his prized possessions accessible to the public via scheduled visits. Follow Forever ATC Museum on Facebook and watch foreveratc.com for further updates on possibly getting a chance to see Binky's Forever ATC Museum for yourself. We are proud to welcome Binky's Forever ATC Museum to the Digging Deep family. As the #1 podcast in ATV racing, it's only right that we partner with the industry leaders in suspension tuning. Insert Impact Solutions. Impact Solutions is a full-service ATV and side-by-side suspension center specializing in the revalving and service of your motocross and off-road suspension. With over 25 years of elite-level knowledge, experience, and testing with riders of all ages and ability levels, Jay Goebel and the Impact crew strive to exceed clients' expectations for service and setup. Impact Solutions is the official Elka Suspension Service Center of the United States, offering unmatched product knowledge and experience. Whether you're in need of service, parts, warranty, sales, or technical support, Impact Solutions has you covered. Head over to impactsolutionsatv.com or give them a call today. With the desire to keep you in the race, Ultimate Poly Products offers the Ultimate Protection Collection of case savers, chain sliders, intake manifolds, and more. Founded on quality in 1998, this family-owned and operated business produces products created by racers for racers. These industry-leading products are proudly made and manufactured in the USA, with their case savers being made of the highest quality American-made polyurethane on the market and designed to completely conform to your engine case to help prevent case damage from a thrown chain, because no one wants to be a spectator on race day. Join top pro riders like Bryson Neal, Walker Fowler, John Glotta Jr., Adam McGill, Cole Richardson, and more by using UPP Racing products. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP15 at uppracing.com to save on your next order. Ultimate Poly Products, made to last longer so you can ride more. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. But I've asked all my co-hosts so far this season, and I'll ask you now. I don't know what there is left to say about this guy, but what do you have to say? Maybe it's predicting if he's going to go perfect or not, because by the midway point, he's looking awfully perfect, and that perfect season, whether he'd admit it or not, has got to be on his radar.
Yeah, I think, and I always give my honest opinion on this. I think if Joel, here on out, we have like perfect good weather, you ain't beating him. He'll win this year on it, even most likely in a mud race too. Now, I think there are scenarios which we all know can happen where you do get drastic weather and maybe he doesn't get the start. Could make things very interesting.
Yep.
So in the championship, absolutely. You know, let's say he takes off third on a track that maybe it's like you're recovering from a mud race and the track's coming around, but it's kind of one line and Joel's in, say, third. It's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to the pressure. And the pressure is not being from losing the overall or championship, but the pressure from going undefeated. Now, he's no new guy to this class. Mm-hmm. He's arguably the fastest ever. So if somebody's faster, they're going to find their way around you, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I think it's just going to be there's a fine line in between being patient and then – pulling the trigger. And I think Joel's definitely got that figured out. But, say Bryce gets a whole shot on a track like that. Say we go to freaking Briarcliff, hard pack track, right? It's muddy. Now it's like one line, very difficult to pass. And Bryce gets a whole shot, pulling away, and say he's like, I'm just saying, we're giving like a scenario.
Yep.
I'm Brandon stuck, really hard to pass. Depending upon how long he's behind that person, or whoever it may be, and how far ahead someone like Bryce gets ahead, it will make it interesting. Now, I think that, say, let's give that scenario. Bryce is leading, and that then he gets around Brandon halfway. Joel is coming like a freight train, and he will catch up. and do something crazy. And the few times I've had Joel behind me in my career, he's probably the most scary guy. Now, he might be the smallest and the lightest weight, but he's probably the scariest guy to have behind you. I was never really scared when Chad was behind me. Chad races cleaner, in my opinion. Not that like Joel races dirty, but Chad races cleaner and is like someone I trust a little bit more behind me, where Joel will roll that dice. It's going to go one way or the other. I'm not scared to come off, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And that's scary to have someone like it. And I've had my glimpses of that. And sometimes when my adrenaline is going, I can be the same too when somebody's in front of me, where you just say F it, and you're just like,
yep.
Either I'm passing you or we're both coming out.
Right.
Joel's like that all the time. And that is a dangerously like scary, good, like this guy.
You're not dogging on the guy. It's the fact that whether he's out in clean air or he's all over the back of you, he's going as fast as he wants to go. So that's what I'm getting from what you're telling me. And I've seen it. I've watched it firsthand where he's all over the back of one of you other riders, one of you other pro class riders. And he's freaking going left, right. He's everywhere. He's relentless, where it's got to feel like he's under your skin. He's not even behind you. He's like on that quad with you.
You won't be able to breathe. I can promise you that. I think that to sum it up, dry races, you ain't beating him. Mud race could make it interesting. You know, God forbid he crashed or he blew up or whatever, broke. Very unfortunate scenario. Could absolutely ruin it. That happens to any single one of us. Yeah, I just think it's a hard task unless one of those things happen. But it can. Don't know it can.
For sure. I saw John Natali commenting on one of our posts just last week that it would be the first perfect season ever. He got very close in 2005 when he was crazy dominant. But yeah, we've seen Joel Hetrick do just about everything at this point, but we haven't seen a perfect season. I think it'd be cool to see it, but that doesn't mean I don't want to see great racing in between now and then. I'd like to see the dude get challenged a little bit, so we'll see. But he's got 5 overalls so far in the season, 10 moto wins, led 124 of a possible 129 laps, led and 8 hole shots. So yeah, Joel Hetrick's doing well this season so far. Bryce Ford got 2nd overall. It was his 3rd consecutive 2-2 performance. He was impressive on the day. We talked about him a bunch. And other than Texas, he's been 2-2 every race so far this season. Max Lindquist makes it back-to-back podiums here. 4th in points now, which is good for Max. Back-to-back podiums for the first time since late in his rookie season of 2021. So obviously Max Lindquist stock is on the rise right now. 3rd overall on the day at High Point. 4th overall, we'll talk about this guy a little bit. Mason Jackson, 6'4" for 4th overall. 4th overall, I don't care how many guys are in the class. 4th overall as a rookie is really impressive. And on the radio, Nick, you had kind of plugged the fact that he was keeping up and keeping pace with Max Lindquist at one point, I think in the 2nd moto. But Mason Jackson, another guy, dude, who's going to be a staple and a contender in the top 5 with riders like you for what seems like the foreseeable future. Like, I watched the dude ride and he still looks like he's on a 250. Just like his stance on the quad. He's, I keep saying like he's like hanging out behind the handlebars, all tucked down and stuff, but he looks just like he did a few years ago. But the dude is now doing it in the top 5 of the pro class. 4th overall for Mason Jackson, man. So impressed by him.
Yeah, he's definitely got a unique riding style that stands out differently. And I'm not making fun of it, but it's what makes all of us, unique in our own ways. So someone like him is absolutely on the right track. I think there's definitely a few things that, will only come in time. He's doing great. I mean, you can't take it away from the kid. He's doing really well. He's learning every week. There's few things that he lacks right now, but it's not like they're not going to come. He's going to absolutely pick it up. It's just what is year 1 for him. Like, look at the guys he's racing. We've all been in here a pretty long time. And those little things take years and they take experience. They come from your good weekends. They come from your bad weekends.
Yep.
They come from the tracks you love and hate, the scenarios and situations you're put in. So the kid's on his way, to say it the least. It's just it's a time thing. It's just going to come in time, like the little things to pick off, but he's not over his head. He's not holding back. Like, he's not scared. So he's got a lot of potential to be a top 5 guy in the near future, with just more races under his belt.
Dude, he's you in 2015. Like, think about all the stuff you learned over the last 10 years. So, I give the dude a lot of credit. 4th overall in the pro class is awesome. 5th overall, Kevin Saar, 5.5 on the day. He's been awesome of late. We had him on each of the last 2 shows. He joined us at Budds Creek for our live show. That was awesome. So, credit to Kevin. 5th overall, he was fast on the day again there at High Point. 6th overall, Brandon Hogue. We talked about him. 3.9, 6th overall for him. He's obviously going to be fired up, and I would think that we'll see his best at Budds Creek next race up. 7th overall, Joe Chambers. Been super impressed with him all season. 7.6 on the day, 7th overall. Been really impressed. He's 8th in points. Joe Chambers, he leads our ATV fantasy tier 5 just about every weekend. He's a lock pick there. So Joey Chambers, credit to him, man. He's been good on the season and another good showing there at High Point. 8th overall, Cody Ford. No quitting this guy. 9.7, 8th overall. He's been scrappy. Like I said, these dudes in the pro class deserve a lot of credit because I'm sure guys like Adam Ulrich, right? He goes 8.8 in the motos. He's 9th overall, but I've been impressed with his speed all season long. He's been racy. He's never been cruising around. And I watch those guys. I watch Joe Chambers, Cody Ford, and Adam Ulrich. And every weekend, none of them are cruising around. They're all locked in a battle where they're freaking, knock down, drag out war with each other. And yet there's nobody behind them in the class. So that's a shame because there's nobody out there making them look good, but they're racing their asses off and they're going really well. So that completes our pro class coverage of High Point here. And I want to quickly highlight some of the amateur stuff that stood out to me at High Point, Nick, before we get out of here. Starting with Kinsey Osborne. She extended her streak to 35 WMX moto wins and counting. You're a guy that can appreciate a streak, Nick. So, man, 35 moto wins in a row. I've been saying, it doesn't matter what class you're racing, doesn't matter who you're racing against, to line up 35 times and win every one of them, man, is borderline absurd.
Now, I've never lined up 35 times and won 35 times straight, so I don't know what that's like. She's definitely got that on me. So congrats to her on that. That's huge. That's got to be an awesome feeling. I think the girls in that class, I've been watching that class more than ever. I think they have their work cut out for them, to say it the least. They do. Similar to her, as to Joel, when somebody's that good, it overshadows and makes the other girls look like they're not working or trying or are good enough. And they are. Because someone like Kinsey, I watch, you throw that girl in A class. I mean, she's doing damn well.
Dude, she got 3rd in her first moto of the A class.
Yeah, it's insane. And I know she has done a few, but that's insane. And she arguably could be the fastest women's racer I've ever seen. Now, I remember Heather Bird and Michelle Natali were really good in the day.
Angela Moore. Yep.
Yeah, right. And I think that Kinsey, believe it or not, and I used to watch him years ago, she's got an aggression that those girls haven't had. So I think she could be the greatest of all time for a women in that class. Her aggression is going to be, and I don't know how old she is. She's pretty young, I think.
Yeah, she's just graduating high school. Yeah.
Right. Her speed and aggression is far more than what the rest of the class looks like.
Yep.
To where if she doesn't get a good start, and I think the one I watched, she didn't get it, and she quickly overtakes it from her aggression and confidence together, shine bright. And I just think it's very hard to beat. Eventually it's beat, like I said, by somebody, but it's going to be a long damn time. These girls got their work cut out for them. I hate to say it.
Like I said, the girl also got 3rd in her 458 first moto behind Damian Hubert and Braden Orr. That is so sick to me. You got a pro sport guy, Damian Hubert, winning the class, and Kinsey's holding her own in 3rd. It's amazing. And I want to give some credit to the rest of the girls in the class too. So Kinsey goes 1-1. Natalie Jackson's got a story of her own going on because she's a newcomer to this class. So she's was Kinsey's kind of rival main competition in years past in the 250 class, and now she's kind of the staple second place rider in the WMX class. So credit to her as well. And then Shelby Cabrando, we've covered her a little bit on these shows, and she came out to our Digging Deep ride day or Digging Deep event there at Budds Creek, the ride day there a couple weeks ago. But she's got a cool story too, because her and her family, her and her mom and dad come into these races. They race on Saturday and then split right away after the motos on Saturday so she can get back home and work. She works in a hospital. She's like a nurse or something. So she does it all to make it work. That's the stuff that I can really appreciate because she's grinding during the week. She goes to the racetrack, she puts it on the podium in the the WMX class and then has to race home to get back to work. So stories like that I can really appreciate for sure. Pro Sport was crazy like always, Nick. Brett Music and Cody Houghton, they won their heat races while fellow heavy hitters Joey Norris and Jaden Launderville were in the LCQ. So eventually kind of a little topsy-turvy day for the Pro Sport class a little bit, but the podium ended up being Brett Musig, Cale Deal, and Cody Houghton 1, 2, 3 in the Pro Sport class. And then in Pro-Am, supporting your theory, Kevin Sard led early in Moto 2, but Mason Jackson would eventually take the Moto 2 and overall win in the Pro-Am division, followed by Kevin Sar and Jaden JJ Launderville. So Nick, let's end our analysis with this. I kind of zoomed through some stuff there, but last kind of thing for you here is a young racer. So give me a young racer, or maybe the young racer that you're most impressed by so far here in 2024, whether that's a mini rider, a pro sport rider, anybody in between, I guess, but a rider or a young rider that you're impressed by here in 2024.
There's this one mini rider who's really good, Ethan Cornell.
Oh, he's nuts. Yeah.
Is that super mini class he's in?
I think so. Yeah.
Kid's going places. Definitely. He's definitely pretty dominant, and he's like the nicest kid in the world. I think he's the nicest kid in the world. He's funny. He's polite. They're good people. I like them. He came out to my house over the winter, and like my jumps they're not like crazy, but like they're pretty big. And he hit this one double-double. Let me backtrack a little bit. Where we were going around, he's like trying to hit jumps, and the kid's like not scared to jump. And he's strong. Like he's big for the quad. I'm not saying he's fat. He's strong. Like he can take the hit of a case of a jump probably better than I could when I was in a super mini.
Okay.
So I got this pretty big double like along the woods and derail this turn. Now, if it was rough that day, I think he would have had a hard time. But it was pretty smooth, and you still got to have a set to hit these. So we're doing a riding lesson, and he rips around this turn, and I stop him because I know he wanted to like do some jumps. I was like, Ethan, if you stay on the gas, you can hit this. And I've never seen a mini quad do it. So like the risk is on me at this point.
Okay.
You got to be careful what you say to this kid. And then he looks at me, he's like, and you can see he's like a little unsure. He's like, I don't know. I was like, if you actually stay on it from where you're getting on and never lift, you will make it. And then it was like, you could tell he was nervous, but he said, okay. And the kid sent the damn things and made them. And on a 90 mod, I was thoroughly impressed. Like this kid had it, and he's not scared to jump. It was impressive to me. And then watching him at a high point, he was dominant. So as a kid, yeah, all day, him. The Pro-Am class, who are the top 5 right now, roughly, in points, or top 3?
In Pro-Am or Pro Sport? And the reason why I say that is because Pro and Pro-Am overlap. So when I look at like the top amateurs, I kind of look at Pro Sport more than Pro-Am just because the two classes don't mingle there. But Jaden Launderville, Joey Norris, Brett Musig,
they're all good.
Cody Houghton too. Yeah, he's been good.
Joey Norris is really good. So I think like Brett Music's been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. I don't think he has intentions to go back like full pro again. Like Mason Jackson, Kevin Sar, they're really good as well. We know their level. Of another like Pro-Am guy, Joey Norris is pretty good. If he gets good starts and stuff, he's a tough guy to beat. He's up there. They're all good. Launderville impresses me. Like the whole class is good.
Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah, the whole class is good for sure. That's one thing we just announced today that we're going to add another tier. We added another tier to ATV Fantasy, and it's going to be the Pro Sport guys, and it's going to just be added points. You're going to choose one guy from that Pro Sport class, and those points are going to get added to your fantasy team. And I think that that's exciting because arguably that's been the most competitive and unpredictable class in the sport so far this season. So that's going to be really exciting. But yeah, those guys, you got current points leader Jaden Launderville, you got Joey Norris, who won the first 3 races. You have exactly what you're getting from Brett. You just commented on it. Him and I raced each other for Rookie of the Year in the pro class, however many years ago. Like the dude is rock solid. And then you got guys throughout the class that are really good. You got guys like Noah Arnall, who's like the winningest youth rider ever, and Landon Korn, who's as good as anybody, and tons of good guys. So yeah, those are really fun classes to think about. The one guy I didn't even mention right there, Cody Houghton, would be the guy. If somebody asked me who's most impressed you, it's probably him, because I didn't think he had this level of going like Joey Norris 1 lap speed. And he's like a TT guy, yet here he he comes to the motocross races, and the dude has just been lighting it on fire. So he's gotten, I think he won Pro Sport at Ironman. He got on the podium at the last race. Like, the dude has been nuts. So I give him a bunch of credit. And then if I was going to look at younger riders, just to kind of comment on it like you did, I looked at the Tverziak kid as being like unbeatable coming into the season, because he impressed me a ton last season. And now you have the Poduznak kid who's like undefeated in whatever 250 class that is, like Youth All-Star or something. So those are guys that are really impressive. And we've seen those top 250 riders go right to these top amateur classes and really make waves. So yeah, man, a lot of guys that are doing really well, but those would be the guys that I would mention for sure. But yeah, pal, listeners, you heard it here. You heard from Nick Gennusa on, kind of breaking down the pro class, talking about what it's like to race against these guys, talk about, the young and up and comers and all this stuff. So it's been so much fun, but I don't want to keep Nick any longer than we already have. So I want to wrap it up. And Nick, I can't thank you enough for doing this and sitting down and having a conversation like this. This isn't something that I'd ask you to do during the season when you're racing and all those things, but with the unique situation that we're in and you're in, I knew you would be the perfect guest for this, and it was surely well worth the wait. So kind of looking forward. Budds Creek is next weekend. So do you make the trip to Budds Creek this time, or what's the story with that?
I'm up in the air for it. I might have to pick up a quad for someone or bring one there. I'm trying to figure it out. So it's close. I can't say just yet. I'd like to be. I'm definitely not racing, but yep. I'd like to be. And if I'm there and they let me commentate again, I'll be up there. So we'll see.
Awesome, man. Well, again, I can't thank you enough for your time and for doing this with me. And man, we're wishing you all the best as you kind of heal up here and try to get back to the racetrack. But again, pal, thanks so much, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Likewise. Thank you very much for your time.
You're the man. That's Nick Gennusa signing off on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, brought to you by UPP Racing. Use discount code DiggingDeep15 at uppracing.com. Have a good night, pal. Thanks so much. Man, that was awesome. What a pleasure to have Nick co-host with me here at Digging Deep. And like I said, well worth the wait. Major thanks to Nick Gennusa for being tonight's featured guest. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother, for all his hard work. Thanks to my wife, Brooke. And thanks to AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to all of our donors. Thanks to all of our partners. CST Tires. Go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, Valvoline, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Lauderdale Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, Impact Solutions, Ultimate Poly Products, UPP Racing. Use discount code DiggingDeep15 at uppracing.com. The D6 Ultimate Quad Series, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. Find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner for all your gear and parts needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Shop our Digging Deep merch at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com today, and find all things Digging Deep ATV Fantasy related at atvfantasy.com. I gotta say, it's really cool to see the Pro Sport riders added to our ATV Fantasy game, so head over to atvfantasy.com to check that out today. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee buttons. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to support our efforts. Follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content, coverage, and more fun stuff here throughout the 2024 ATV motocross season. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Be a friend, tell a friend. Please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Nick Gennusa, Brooke Jansen, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen, thanks for listening to and making us the most listened to podcast in ATV racing, with nearly 257,000 downloads last month and 108 total countries. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real. I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad dudes are freaking gnarly.